And here we have it, guys. 3-time World Series champion, the man of the hour, had a great Major League Baseball career. Please welcome Dwight Doc Gooden, the K-Master. Welcome.
What's up, baby? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me. How's everything?
Oh, it's great.
Good to see you.
This is brought to you by A1 VIP Entertainment, John Anthony. We all know him.
Oh, John Anthony is the man.
The great times we had. See, right here, I'll show you right now.
Right. And that's John Anthony.
You're in the sweetest
spot.
Doc, get on the mound.
Doc, get on the mound.
Get on the mound right now.
Yes, sir.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. So,
Doc, no doubt.
Before we talk about now, let's turn back the clock a little bit. I remember when we were talking about pitching, and I asked you a question last year, and I said, have you ever lifted weights? And you said,
Hey. Say it again. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear it with the Bucks.
The question I asked was, have you ever lifted weights in your baseball career?
Yep.
And you said no. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, back then, guys, we didn't really do weights. We never did more than a 2-pound dumbbell. A lot of tubing, a lot of exercising, a lot of running, a lot of conditioning. And we tried the thing with me was always trying to build my core, get my legs as strong as I can. Now, our days, guys are lifting weights, heavy weights, upper body, and you're having more injuries. And just my opinion, I think that's where a lot of injuries are coming from, where back in the 80s, and even before that, talking to some guys, the trainers, they would set your off-season program, where now, I don't know if it's because of salaries or what have you, most of the players, they have their own personal trainers, and these trainers don't know about mechanics. They don't know about pitching. Each position trains differently. Like a pitcher would train different than a catcher. Catchers train different than outfielders. Outfielders train different than infielders. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll screw these guys up. And now they're throwing a whole lot less, but the injuries, a whole lot more injuries, a lot of Tommy Johns. And I think that's a big reason for that. Not doing the proper training, not teaching the proper mechanics, and that goes a long way.
And you know what's interesting? Your father, at 7 years old, when he was teaching you the game of baseball, he did not give you a baseball yet. He goes, I'm not giving you the baseball yet. Let's work on your form, right? How important was that?
Yeah.
It's like the movie, The Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi telling him
That's
back
it. That's very true. When I tell people that, and especially kids, they laugh about that because I always use that as an example, and you're exactly right. Like, if you guys remember, I had the high leg kick, which I couldn't get my leg up that high now if I tried, but when I had the high leg kick, my dad would actually have a board, had a brick up on it, and teach me about balancing. He said, balancing, that gives you an opportunity, so when you get in a throwing motion, to have your mechanics, completely sound and the position you want. So if I threw the ball up and in, and I was trying to go down and away, I knew the things I had to correct. But you're exactly right. When I first started going to the ballpark, we didn't take a glove, we didn't take a bat, we didn't take a ball. So for a kid, that wasn't fun. Because most kids, when you go to the ballpark with your dad, you want to throw the ball, you want to hit the ball, you want to do different things. My dad thing was, you got to earn that. You got to get your mechanics down first. And the same thing with my nephew, Gary Sheffield, who played professional baseball also and should be a Hall of Famer. He taught me about hitting, the fundamentals of hitting, timing, and everything. And he taught me about pitching. And that's what we did until about 3 weeks later. Then he said, okay, you're ready for the baseball now. But we taught us all the drills and the proper way to throw the ball and everything before we got the ball and before, I started throwing. The same thing with Gary, the way he would do his bat for his timing.
But, Doc, were you frustrated with your dad like Ralph Macchio in the movie The Karate Kid when he's like, why am I cleaning? Why am I doing this? Were you frustrated or were you patient?
You know what's funny? My dad, I love my dad because, as a boy, you want to follow your dad. It didn't matter where he was going. He couldn't leave the house without me following him. Mm-hmm. I would complain to my mom, and my mom would hammer my dad. So I would say, Mom, we're going to the park. We don't have a ball. We don't have a bat. Who does that? And she'll go to my dad, whose name was Dan. Dan, why are you taking that boy to the park every day? He don't want to go to the park every day. Why he not taking a ball? Why he not taking a bat? But so I was basically going through my mom, taking the easy way out. And my dad said, well, son, stop complaining to your mom, or go in the kitchen with your mom, or do you want to go on the baseball field and live your dream? So that's basically the way he said it. And I got it. And before he passed away, we should laugh about it and look back at it. But the only thing I regret before my dad passed away, I wish I could have found out where did he get his knowledge from, because he was way ahead of the game. The stuff he taught me about pitching, the stuff he taught Gary about hitting, it was beyond the days of training and the stuff that even today, what guys are doing today, I don't know where he gets his knowledge from.
So he just had that vision that other people can't see.
Probably. And then he grew up in Georgia, like the sticks of Georgia. My dad had a third grade education. He self-taught himself everything. I mean, everything. And he knew it all. He actually did my first contract. He did my contract with Mr. Steinbrenner when I went to the Yankees. Mm-hmm. He knew his baseball stuff. And then for his pitching, he knew all about fundamentals. He knew all about where my arm should be once my leg landed. He knew all that stuff. How to grip the curveball. He taught me the Uncle Charles. He taught me everything about pitching. And,
so Doc, you went to Hillsborough High School. And
yes.
Guys, and played. You were in the Little League World Series before high school, right? Did you experience
yes.
that?
Yep.
And was your dad the coach of that team?
He didn't coach my Little League World Series team or my high school team, but he coached me in between that. My dad, basically from 7 years old to 10 years old, he coached me. And then from 10 to 13, I had a regular Little League coach, and then he coached me again at 14, right before I got to high school. But even once I got to professional baseball, after every game, I would call my dad before I talked to the media, and we'll go over the games. It didn't matter if it was a great game or not so good game. And we'll talk about certain situations. Why did I throw a certain pitch in certain counts? Why did I do this and that? We'll go over the game. And even my side days, him and Mel Stoudemire had a great relationship where my dad never stepped on Mel's toes, and Mel respected my dad's advice and the things that we had been working on even before I got to the majors. And it kind of worked together, and I think it formed a good team.
But don't you think that's like? Do you think other coaches are like, hey, don't let your personal friend or your parent get involved? Stoudemire was like open. It's like, yeah, no, why not? You know, whatever works, right? I mean, if I was a coach, I would do the same thing if I had a kid like that. Like, Dad, go ahead, it's working. You know.
Oh, it was great. They worked together well, and my dad never got in with Mel. Mel never got with my dad, and basically it worked out good because I made it to the majors at such a young age. I was only 2 years, a year and a half removed from high school. So I basically just left my dad's training and his philosophy coming to Mel Stoudemire. So he wanted to know the things that I was working on, and he wanted to know the things to look for if I got out of sync. And so if I had trouble with the curveball or different things with my mechanics, Mel could talk to my dad and say, what did you guys work on, or what did you do to fix it? But mostly, after about year 2, 3, 4, and 5, Stoudemire basically took over. My dad was just there to kind of do the mental part and want to know how I'm feeling, why I do a certain thing. But Mel was basically the guy, and I followed Mel lead more than my dad.
And your high school, you didn't even start until your junior year?
That's true. And the only way I got into the rotation my junior year was because I got Floyd Yeomans, who played professional ball, who was actually in the Gary Carter trade, got kicked off the team halfway through our junior year for skipping practice. And that's how I got into the rotation. Had Floyd Yeomans had not got kicked off the team, I probably would have started until my senior year of high school. And who knows what could have happened at that point.
God. So then you got right after high school, your senior year, you probably put up huge numbers. You got an offer. You wanted to go to University of Miami if you didn't get drafted, right? Was that the case?
That was the case. I signed a letter of intent to go to Miami. I didn't think I was going to first of all, I didn't think the Mets were going to draft me that high because I only played 2 years of high school baseball, and I only started a year and a half of high school baseball as a pitcher. So my high school coach thought, he said I would get drafted, but it probably would be until between the 10th and 15th round.
What?
So I signed a letter of intent to go to Miami. I thought that's where I was going to go. And I remember watching the draft down in the Tampa Tribune, the paper company, and a guy, what's his name? Oh, man, just went blank. Came in, the guy, Tom McEwen, who's no longer with us, invited us down. It was me, Richard Montione, who worked for the Yankees for a while, and Lance McCullers Sr., who saw him play for the Astros. So the three of us was down there watching the draft, and I never talked to anybody from the Mets. I saw the draft board go by. First pick, Chicago Cubs select Sean Dunston. And then there's 3 more picks, and then New York Mets take Dwight Gooden with the 5th pick. I'm like, wow. So I actually had Tom McEwen call New York to make sure I was right because I didn't believe it. And based on what my coach had told me, I said, no way, that's correct. And come to find out, the Mets was right. And at that point, I knew I wasn't going to school. I was going to sign no matter what because that was my dream, and I wanted to put my parents in a better situation than what they was in at the time.
And how much was the signing bonus back then?
Back then, it was $85,000 for the 5th pick. And to me, that was enough to get my mom a house and get me a little sports car. And to me, I had made it.
So, Doc, in the minor leagues, you teared it up. I mean, you killed it. And Davey Johnson told the executives, the front office, hey, this is the guy that's coming with me in '84. He is going to be on a big league roster opening day. And the GM said, well, I don't know, he's not ready. But then he said no. Davey Johnson, he stuck up for you. He's like, no, he is ready. But then the GM said, well, you better protect him. He's like, he's in good hands with me. I got him. So now you got the call, because here's the thing. In spring training, the final game, you're trying to figure out, like, man, did I make the roster? Did I make the right? You're anxious because you don't know where you're going.
Right.
Are you going to, I think it was it against Cincinnati or was it at home?
Yeah, we were going to Cincinnati. We opened the season in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And the thing was, luckily, we had spring training in St. Petersburg, Florida at the time. I was living in Tampa, so it was about 30 minutes away. I didn't want to feel cocky based on what Davey told me. I had my luggage in the clubhouse like everybody else. So I had my dad keep it in the trunk of his car just in case I made it, or if I didn't make it, I wouldn't be embarrassed having my luggage in the clubhouse, being a 19-year-old rookie. And you're right. I remember in '83, if I can go back a little bit. First, I was in A-ball. I started out 0-3. They was going to send me down to low A, and we had a pitching coach, John Cumberland, say, no, don't send him down. Let me just work with him. We'll have him miss a start. And I missed a start. We didn't work on anything. We just talked about pitching. Talked about pitching inside, because I wouldn't pitch inside because in high school, I hit a kid in the head, so I was afraid to pitch inside. And as I started 0-3, John Cummins said, okay, if a guy hits the ball hard off of you, the next guy comes up, you throw it up on his chin. If a guy hits a home run off of you, the next guy, you hit him in the leg. If you don't do that, we're going to send you down. And by doing that, from starting 0-3, I ended up going 19-4 with 300 strikeouts.
Unbelievable.
I go to AAA for the playoffs. Excuse me. I go to AAA for the playoffs, and Davey Johnson is the manager. I win the championship game to get us to the AAA World Series, and then I win the final game in the World Series to win the AAA World Series. And Davey says, "What if I manage the following year? You're on my team." So George Bamberger resigns from the big team, and Davey gets the job. And I get invited to a big league camp as a non-roster player. And I found out they end up leaving Tom Seaver off the roster in '84 so I can get on the roster. I didn't know that at the time, but when Davey was managing the Nationals, that's when he told me the story. And I said, wow, I'm glad I didn't know, because that would have been a lot of pressure trying to, take Seaver's spot on the roster. But so make a long story short, as you mentioned, all through spring training, the front office kept saying to the media, we're going to send him to AA. AAA is too young. We don't want to rush him. And I would go to Davey's office. I said, Davey, they say you're sending me down. He said, don't worry about it. You're going to make the team. Just keep pitching what I know you can pitch. Everything's going to be fine. And the last day of spring training, leaving after that game to open the season in Cincinnati, I still hadn't heard anything officially. So when I was going to the ballpark that morning, I told my dad, I'll put all my bags in your car. You come to the game, because I don't want the luggage in the clubhouse just in case I don't make the team.
Right.
I'm not embarrassed with all my bags in there. The fifth inning of the game, Davey came up to me and said, congratulations, son, you made the team. And that was like the happiest day of my life. And I remember after the game, sharing that with my father in the parking lot. I never see him so happy, because playing Major League Baseball initially started off being my father's dream, and it became my dream. I mean, just a tremendous, tremendous story, and to share with my father.
And that 84 spring training, and I talked to Darryl Strawberry. I said, hey, give me a classic story with Doc. Give me a good one. He goes, all right, so it's the 84 spring training season. We're at a club, a nightclub.
Oh, yeah. I some kind of way I knew he was going to go there.
Yeah,
it's a true story.
But listen, it's funny. It's funny as shit, right? He goes. So he's with his couple of his teammates, and they're like, hey, you see that guy? That's the next Mets phenom. That's the next superstar pitcher. And Darryl's like, well, shit, he definitely fits in with us. What were you doing at that time? We was at a nightclub. Tell me that story.
Hey,
you could be honest.
True story. But looking back at it, I should have known I had a problem right then and didn't recognize it, because I'm 19 years old in a club, and I remember telling the bartender, this drink is not that strong. You cheated me. Pull it up. Give me a triple. Next thing you know, I got my head on the counter, and it might have been Floyd Jones. I'm not sure it was. Say, hey, Darryl Strawberry, the number one pick, is over there. He want to meet you. I remember lifting my head up and just kind of giving him a wave, put my head back down. And that was my introduction to me and Darryl. And then and the next day he came over, we started talking, and we became good friends from that point on. But that's the first time I actually met him, was in a bar, passed out.
So you were passed out pretty much.
I was definitely passed out,
and
yeah.
The best thing what
Darryl said.
First
introduction to me and Darryl. And when they told me Darryl was here and wanted to meet me, I remember looking up at him and just kind of gave him a wave and put my head back down on the bar counter.
Yeah, and the best thing what Darryl says, like, well, he definitely fits in with us.
And that's what Darryl told me later. He goes, man, you're going to be one of us. You're one of the guys. Not knowing at the time, what was going to lead to it. But, I mean, it's all fun.
Right.
I mean, it's fun. You got to have fun. And a lot of stuff happened, and you learn from it. But that's how we met.
Exactly. Not that many people know that story right there.
No, a lot of people. We don't share that story a lot. Some people, when you tell that story, like, oh, I don't see what happened. How's that story hilarious? I mean, it's funny. It was kids having fun.
Yeah, man.
It's no big deal. Yeah.
So that your rookie year, right? It just you're putting up numbers now. People like, who is this Doc Gooden guy, right? I mean, not Doc yet, but who's this Dwight Gooden guy, right? I mean, did it gel together? Did you figure it out? Were you like, ooh, I know how to pitch. I definitely know how to pitch. Was it like that in your mind? Because that's how confident.
I think one of the things that really helped was because I remember a year prior to that, being in my backyard playing with Gary, playing with a lot of my friends, Derek Bell, Floyd Yeomans, all these guys, and we pretended to be Pete Rose, Nolan Ryan, Mike Schmidt, Dale Murphy, all these guys. And now I'm getting ready to face them. But one of the best advice my dad gave me was, when you're facing these guys, don't pay attention to the name on the back of the jersey. It's just you and the catcher. You make your pitches. You read the bat speed. Go with your strength. And I think that was one of the good things he told me, because I remember the first time I faced Pete Rose, I was like, wow, I couldn't wait to get home to call my friends and say, you're not going to believe what I faced tonight. Because it's still, I'm a kid living a dream. I'm only a year and a half out of high school. Mm-hmm. But my dad said, don't pay attention to the name on the back of the jersey. And it probably wasn't until the All-Star game where I figured that I actually belonged, because before I've had a little success. I'll get hit a little bit, just nothing, crazy. But once I made the All-Star team, and I'm around Nolan Ryan and all these other guys, and we're talking, I had success in the All-Star game. I threw to Gary Carter, and then I took off after that, and then that's when I knew I belonged. And my main thing at that point was just trying to stay healthy. But up until the All-Star game, I wasn't sure if I really belonged or not.
Doc, what's crazy is that you blew up so big. Like, when you see your picture in Times Square, did you say, oh, my hair looks good, or I have a good smile on this? Were you, upset at your picture when you see that big billboard of you in Times Square?
Man, that took me by storm. I was definitely overwhelmed by that. That was surreal. I mean, because as a kid, your whole thing is, I want to play Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. I want to stay healthy. I want to play for a long time. You're not thinking about awards. You're not thinking about the World Series. And you're definitely not thinking about being on a building. When I found out Nike was doing that, and I was actually there when they finished it, I couldn't believe it. I mean, when my parents came up, I showed them that. When my sisters came out, I showed them. And also, it got me, how can I say? It worked out for me. Anytime I was in the city and I met a girl or whatever, I made sure I took the route. No matter if it was out the way or not, to come back to Long Island, I would go by there to make sure they saw that picture. And they helped me out a lot in the long run. You know what I mean? But,
all right. So now we're gonna get to the hot stuff. All right.
But it was all fun. But definitely, when I saw that, I was overwhelmed by that, and that was something that I was just blown away with. Especially at my age, at 20 years old.
So all right. So now you go to a nightclub, right? You, Darryl, whoever, veterans, rookies, I don't care, right? People know you. People want to get to know you. People want to give you drinks. People want to offer you other stuff, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
How easy was it for you, once you enter the club, girls are like, oh my God. Was it like that back then?
It was. The thing was, you didn't have to, I mean, like now, there was no social media, thank God. You go in a club, picture this. You remember the China Club? Mm-hmm. It was, like I say, me, Darryl, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Tyson, all those guys hanging out together. And the girls, even then, without the social media, they do their homework, just like you do your homework. You see a girl, you like her, whatever. They did their homework also. They know your stats. They know you live. They know whether you're married or not. Same thing. And so they had the bouncers. They bring them up to you. And everything was in the 80s. I mean, it was free will. And unfortunately, not just girls, but free drinks and everything else. Mm-hmm. Myself, at a young age, was more of a follower than a leader. So I was, trying to fit in. I was a yes guy. And unfortunately, it took some bad things. And then it became addiction, unfortunately. One of the things I remember going to the city, they always said, get your piece of apple, don't try to eat the whole apple. Unfortunately, I tried to eat the whole apple, instead of just having a good time. But being a young guy, being from Tampa, and not to justify anything, I just made bad choices, made bad decisions, and became addicted very quickly to alcohol and drugs.
Were there nights that you had the game the night before, you would, do stuff and then pitch the next day? I mean, did you ever feel, or did you do it after you pitched because you got the next 4 days off?
Well, I never did anything the night before I pitched. And being a starting pitcher, you pitch every 5th day. So
right.
In a sense, it worked to your advantage. until the problem became bigger than than you can control. My problems with drugs started after the '86 season, or during the '86 season. But before that, for his drinking, I started drinking in high school. But I would never drink the day before I pitch. I always gave myself 2 days before I would pitch. But the day that I pitched, it was guaranteed that I was going to drink because I was either going to be drinking to celebrate, or I was going to be drinking so I could get the slate because I didn't have a good game, or maybe I got a no decision, just to come down from all the emotion and all the adrenaline going for the game. So the day that I pitched, that night was definitely going to be a party night.
So right after you pitch, you'll be a party night, but then the next 4 days you could still party again, right? Next night you go 2 nights later, right?
Well, that's a great question, because it started out just the night that I would pitch, and maybe the next night, depending on where we were in the season, what my record was, played a part, unfortunately. But I think as it become more and more of a problem, like I always give myself 2 days before I pitch, so I'm not doing anything. I'm not going out on the health day just to calm down.
Right.
The more and more started becoming a problem, you start saying, okay, well, I'm just going to give myself 1 day before I pitch. Then you start saying, well, I give myself 5 hours before or certain times. So you start trying to minimize and justify, not knowing that it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem that's getting out of control. Not aware of that until consequences started getting bigger, and then you become aware of it.
But Doc, have anybody in the clubs ever say, when did you start doing cocaine for the first time? Was it after '86 or was it during '86?
It was actually after the '85 season, the first time I ever tried it. Went home, and at that time I was smoking marijuana. Went to my cousin's house to get marijuana. He didn't have any. There's 2 girls in the house because he basically ran I don't know if you want to call it a prostitute house or whatever you call it, but girls there, they're doing coke. I went into the room, I see them, they looked attractive, 2 girls making out. They said, hey, come join us. I said, no, I'm cool. I was drinking at the time. I said, okay, I'll join it. They said, well, you got to do this. They had cocaine on the plate. I said, no, I'm not doing it. The more I was drinking, the more I was getting involved with each other, so I looking more attractive. Unfortunately, when I tried it, fell in love with it the first time I hit it. I fell in love with it. I became addicted right away without knowing it. And then as the problem just started going, it started getting worse during the season of '86. Obviously, missing the parade, and then the accident I got into, the cops when I got home, and then just escalated.
The '86 season, Doc. I mean, there's a picture of you and the boys, right after the game. You, Dykstra, right here. This picture right here. So you're telling me right after that, you went to Long Island and you went high all night.
Man. Yes, it's funny looking at that picture. It's like you get mixed emotions, because that day it was the greatest day of my baseball life. That's what you shoot for. I mean, I went from Rookie of the Year '84, Cy Young '85, winning the World Series '86, celebrating in New York. We out on the mound celebrating, going to clubhouse celebrating. I remember calling my dad, and my dad's crying on the phone. We're talking about the season, all the hard work that went into it. We made it. Then unfortunately, the next phone call went to a drug dealer. That's where it just went downhill from there. So what should have been the best day of my life turned into the worst day of my life. Then you end up going, my intentions was to go get drugs, meet my teammates at a local bar. I went there, basically got stuck. You're celebrating with guys you don't even know. They became your best friends for the next 4 or 5 hours or what have you.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're there all night, and that clock is moving so fast, you're thinking, I'm out of here in an hour, 30 more minutes, 15 more minutes. Now the sun's coming up. Now you're actually watching a team parade on TV in the same spot. That's when the sadness came in, and I mean, you sober up a little bit. And I can't imagine how I was looking at the time, and the feeling that went through me at that point. Today I can't find a word to describe how horrible I felt at that time, because at that point, you screwed up. You can't redo it. The one thing you shoot for is celebrate with your teammates in that parade, and you see guys having banners. The fans have banners with your name on it, and you're in this house stuck with guys in Long Island projects, and your team is celebrating. That bothered me for a while, and still today, at times, it does bother me. I'm not gonna lie, because you can't redo it.
Right.
I got to celebrate twice with the Yankees, had a parade, but that one with the Mets, you can't do that over. You don't get to redo that. You only can learn from it and try to share that message with others. So hopefully, younger generations don't have to go through that. But that's something you can't get back. You can't redo it. But I did it to myself.
So you started at the end of '85, which was in Tampa, but you didn't do it in New York.
Yes.
Did any of the veterans introduce you to it, or they felt like you were too young and they said, you know what, let's not give him any?
No, they didn't. It was all me going to Tampa. And a lot of people thought, like, I got asked a lot, had just started your career in Minnesota or Pittsburgh or another town, we just had the same problems you had in New York. People have to understand my problems didn't start in New York. They started in Tampa. New York wasn't the problem. It was when I went home. I had a lot of idle time, a lot of guys that I grew up with. I was still hanging out with them, trying to fit in, wanted them to think that I'm still one of the guys. So I was putting myself in bad situations. And I take full responsibility for my actions, good or bad, and just the situation I put myself in. And then when it became a problem, not being man enough to ask for help and say I needed help because I didn't know how to ask for help. Because at 17, I was taking care of my entire family.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the guy put on the pedestal. So anytime I had a bad day, everybody said, "Oh, you're fine, you're okay." And I was brought up in an era where men don't cry, men don't hug, men don't show their feelings. And again, I'm not justifying anything. I just what I was going through. And so I had to relearn everything over about asking for help. It's okay to cry. It's okay to tell another man how you feel. It's okay to hug another man. I had to learn all that through, many times of falling on my face.
But Doc, earlier when you were a kid, I think when you were 12 or 13, a guy said, "Oh, you want to mess with drugs? Yeah, go to that house right there." And you opened the door, and the guy literally punched you in the face, knocked you out, because the guy set you up and said, "Don't give him any drugs. Don't have him ever come to this drug house." That guy looked out for you back then.
They did. They did look out for me back then. And at that time, I hadn't had a drink yet.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't tried no marijuana yet. Obviously, I hadn't tried coke yet. So the fear was there. I knew things not to do because I grew up somewhat in middle class, but I had a sister who lived in the inner city in the projects. And so I used to hang out in the projects because there's always kids there. There's always something to do, always something to play. So I see a lot of stuff that went on, whether it was killings, whether it was stabbings, whether it was gunshots, gangs, whatever. I witnessed a lot of stuff, even as my sister get shot 8 times. I witnessed all that. So I knew right from wrong, but then so when the guy sent me that, and the sick thing about it, somewhere in my brain, I was attracted to that.
Mm-hmm.
That was like excitement to me.
Right.
Why? I don't know. Maybe just growing up in an atmosphere. And so the guy always said, "Think you're a bad guy. That's when he sent me to the house, and the guy did punch in my face. And instead of me telling my dad or my older brother, I just kind of took it. I didn't say anything. I'm just like, wow. So I kind of knew that's not the place I want to go, or I'm not as tough as I think I am. And that's not the lifestyle that I thought I really wanted.
Right.
So I was okay for a while until I started drinking and smoking weed in high school, and then it became bigger of a problem and not knowing it. I mean, I think I was an alcoholic in high school, but not knowing it at the time.
So then,
because there was no, when I get in trouble, there was no serious consequences at the time.
Right. So then, the '86, that whole year, were you using a lot during that year?
Not really. Off and on here and there.
So
nothing crazy.
So you had control, Doc. You did have control as far as making it recreational, but not addicting, right?
I think so. I don't know if I really had control. It's just a matter of was it available at the time. I think when it was available, I was there. I think I was very fortunate because I didn't really know anybody in New York at the time where to really get it. Mm-hmm. During the all-season in Tampa, I knew exactly where to go, so it was a lot easier. But during the season, I never really did it before I pitched. I never pitched high, none of that stuff. Not to justify anything, but I just didn't. And I know rumors came out a while later. I think Strawberry, he denied it, but I guess something came out where he said I was using coke during the World Series. That's totally false. I didn't do anything during the playoff World Series. I just pitched terrible in the World Series. But that definitely wasn't the case.
With as far as when did it get bad, Doc? Was it the '87 season when you went to rehab after you opened up the season rehab? So you didn't play for like 6 weeks. I'm assuming, right? 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
I missed the first month and a half or 2 months, and probably after the '86 season because I think it was a part of it was being in denial from missing the parade and everything that's going on. We had all this downtime going on and a lot of celebration in New York and Tampa because we just won a World Series, a lot of parties. And at that point, that's when it really got worse. And luckily, when I went to spring training in '87, they asked me to be tested. And I think that's what really stopped it because had I went into the season in '87 and not went to rehab, that could have been a disaster.
Doc, in '87, '88, '89, was it getting worse at those years as the years was progressing, or did you have control those years too?
No. Those years, I actually went 7 years. I did well. for 7 years. I went from 87 to 94, and I was clean. And 94 is when I had the relapse the second time. But before that, I was being tested by Major League Baseball through the whole time. That helped. I was doing meetings. I had a sponsor. I was doing all the things I was supposed to do. At the same time, by doing all that, somewhere in the back of my mind, I still didn't think I had a problem, but I just wasn't using or drinking or doing anything for 7 years. And then I had the one relapse after I broke my foot opening day in Chicago. I was rehabbing. The next thing you know, I started by drinking. And obviously, as you know, in recovery, drinking would definitely lead right back to drugs or vice versa.
Doc, did you ever feel guilty when you were doing it? You're thinking about your dad in your mind. You're like, what am I doing? Like, those thoughts ever come in like that to you?
Oh, of course. You feel bad. And the thing about it, the way addiction works,
Mm-hmm.
once you have a relapse, or even if it's premeditated or you have a reservation to use, once you start doing it, or you test positive, or you miss one of your kids' birthdays, or you miss a family event or something like that, you feel horrible. And then unfortunately, instead of being man enough and getting help, you start self-medicating because you can't deal with those issues. It's like, at first you think, I'm not hurting anybody, I'm just doing this to myself, but you're hurting everybody. You're taking everybody down. And then you know that. And so when the guilt and the shame comes in, then you're self-medicated because you don't want to feel those feelings, not knowing by doing more, you're making it even worse. By the time that's the sickness you're in, it's not like you're a bad person, but you're a sick person, very sick person. And again, instead of asking for help, you're just self-medicating and the problem becoming bigger and bigger. And you're also taking your family down with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you went through that. Wish I would.
I mean, yeah.
Because here's the thing. The party scene, going on road trips, everybody knows who you are, right, Doc? You got strip joints. That was a normal thing. We're not going to be closed about this, but you go to strip joints, people like, oh, there goes that guy, have money. But it could be easy, a club owner of a strip joint or a regular club could be like, well, I know what he likes. Has that ever offered to you on the road at strip joints and stuff like that?
Well, that's a great question, Eddie, and it can happen. But the problem is, I know those type of places. I can't go to those places. Like today, I know all this stuff.
Right.
Back then, I knew that stuff, but I just choose to think that I have it under control now. But you never have it under control. It's something that's going to be with you for your life. You just have to accept that and deal with it on a daily basis. Those situations, when they talk about people, places, and things, it sounds cheesy, but those things are real. Certain places you can't go to because if I went to a strip club or something, I don't need the owner or someone to come tell me, let's get this for him, get that for him. That's your reason for going. You may say I'm going just to look at girls. I'm just going with the guys to hang out. But deep down, you know why you're going there. You know what's there. You know it's drugs. You know it's alcohol. You know it's women. You know all that stuff is already there. So self-consciously, that's your reason for going. Even though you're saying to yourself, I'm going to hang out with the guys. I'm just going for an hour. But deep down, you know why you're going. So you just have to eliminate yourself from even putting yourself in that position. I've seen guys where they've had years and years of recovery. And they say, I can go to that place for a while. I go to a bar. Well, maybe they can, but I can't. And I got to just accept that and be okay with it. I mean, some days you do want to go to certain places and hang out with your friends or family members. This year, like my sister turned 70 in Tampa. They had a big birthday party for it's like a 70s birthday party where you dressed with the big afro and the throwback clothes and big shoes. I wanted to go celebrate there with my sister, but I know I wasn't ready to do that. That was in October. I wasn't mentally ready to do that. I was still in this mental health treatment facility, and I know I say if I go to Tampa, I may be okay, but what if I'm not okay? Then everybody's messed up, and I'm messed up as well. And so I didn't do it. I say, I'll have days to celebrate my sister, God willing. So for right now, I have to say no. So I know that now, the things I didn't know then, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about myself at 56, 55, still learning. So,
hey, Doc, you're still a good-looking bastard for 55.
Oh, I love you. Thank you, brother. Oh, as long as you don't get my stomach, I'm good.
Well, the first time I met you, I thought you were having twins.
Oh, man. It's actually down. That was the only good thing. What's funny? I started training. I was doing well by the boxing thing. And then, unfortunately, when this coronavirus started, man, it took me right back to the couch and all my snacks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So now, I got to start over again. But it's all good.
It's all right, Doc. I still believe in you. But
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
But I want the viewers to understand how you and I met. John of A1 VIP Entertainment.
Yep.
That weekend, his wife Annette was like, oh, you're not going anywhere. It's my birthday weekend. And he's like, I got to take Doc to Utica, New York, you know?
Right.
And,
Yep.
and she's like, oh, I don't think so. It's my birthday. You're staying. So who does he call? Me. He's
That's
like,
right.
no, Eddie.
We had fun, though. It was good.
Oh, it was, you know what? When I tell my friends that I'm a diehard Mets fan, not average Met fans, when I'm talking about diehard Met fan, when they're like Doc, Strawberry, Carter, all those guys, right? And I told them that story, they almost fainted in a happy way. They're like, what? How is that possible? I'm like, yeah.
But the best part was the stop we made on the way going home. We stopped and got the cake.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. How good was that cake, right?
Oh, man. That's my favorite cake. Chocolate with hazelnuts.
Yeah.
Incredible. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
You're a good man, though. That was the first time we actually met, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
You know, conversating and just talking.
You
That
know,
was great.
we were just talking, you know, hitting. We were talking. You know, you felt, you know, Doc, I know how you are in the beginning. You gotta get comfortable with the person you meet for the first time. I get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, you know.
yeah, throughout your
Don't hand me those shoes. My shoes. Yeah.
Oh.
Remember, you know, I got to show you something too. Remember the shoes you got, and you just being gave me the guys a number. The shoes you had made.
Yeah.
I think you had Manly number put on them.
Oh yeah, 23. Yeah. My.
Yep. Check this out. I had the same guy make this for me. Can you see that?
Oh, well, hold on.
How about that?
Look at holy.
How about that? Remember we were talking about the mirror,
Yeah.
and when you come out of the Lincoln Tunnel,
Yeah.
on the building, he actually got that painting right there on the shoe.
Wow.
Then he put, he did it. Your guy, he put this on the tongue. Let's see if you can see this here.
Oh, that is hot. That is hot.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Let me see the inside of the inner part of the shoe.
This part?
No, that's the outside. Give me the inside. Let me see what he did on the inside.
Oh, you want to see this? Hand me the other shoe. The inside is like this, but I'll show you.
The inside.
No, hold on 1 second. I can show you the other shoe. But it's the mesh color with, I'll show you.
So, you know, Doc, pretty much.
There you go. See, that's on the other shoe right here.
Oh, my God. So, pretty much, you're a copycat off me.
Hey.
I started this.
Yeah.
And
You
now,
gave me the idea, but you went Yankee, I went Met.
well, that's true. But wow, look at you following my footsteps, which I don't blame you at all. I mean, you should.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Hey, when I saw that shoe, I was like, wow, that's nice. And then you always look at something different. And my kids, they got it too. Milan, show me your shoe. Your shoe with your picture on it. You gotta see my daughter's shoe. Dylan.
You sleep.
Oh, you sleep? Oh, yeah. I gotta check out my daughter's shoe. I got it for her birthday.
Hey,
Her
by the
name's
way,
Milan.
Monique, you're doing a
She's
great
the
job,
one who helped
right?
hook me up.
Monique, I give credit to
See,
Monique.
check that
Doing
out.
a great
See,
job,
we got
right?
the,
Well,
what's her name, Milan? You see that?
that's actually the 12s Air Jordans.
Yep.
No,
And then got her picture on it right here.
oh, wow. Look at that.
That's my guy. So I appreciate you, Eddie, hooking me up.
Well, of course. You know,
Yeah.
Doc, so let's talk about, you know, the jail. What was the longest jail time you did?
Wow. Sure. 10 and a half months.
And was it crazy? Did they treat you differently?
It was different. I mean, jail is jail. I mean, in prisons, I mean, it's something that obviously you don't want to experience. And then my situation was I took the wrong advice from the attorney that I had. I should have had probation. He told me to take a year and a day that I was going to treatment. I took a year and a day and I ended up in prison. But, you know, it is what it is. I put myself in a situation like that. So I had to take responsibility for it. But it's horrible. I mean, being in there, you're not really living. You're just existing. And it's something that you never want to experience. You never want your kids or anybody that you know to experience anything like that at any time. It happened to me at age 40 when you have kids, and then you have your young kids coming through the gates to visit you or your mom. That's even worse. A situation like that where you go from winning World Series or being on a building to prison. It don't get no lower than that unless you're in a cemetery. But, you know, it happened. You try to use it. It's something that you went through. When I talk to kids or whoever I talk to, I share everything with them and how I ended up there. Glad I'm not living my life today. But those are things that could happen if you decide to go back to the madness that I was in. If you're lucky. If
Did they try to mess with you as far as, well, I'm gonna take advantage of this guy. He's a celebrity. He's a ball player. I'm gonna try to get my name out there. Did anybody ever try to mess with you like that?
Not really. I mean, you kind of like, well, before I went to prison, you're in jail, so they certain guys kind of prep you of things you can't do or things you shouldn't do. Like they say, don't play on softball teams. That's like being in a gang. Don't work out with guys. That's like being in a gang, because if somebody go after attack them, they're gonna get you. It doesn't matter if you're Mike Tyson or who you are. You're one guy, and you're gonna have 10 guys coming at you. There's nothing you can do. The closest I ever came when a guy tried to take my food, I let him have it. That was the tough. You know how I like to eat, but I had to give it to him. He wanted it. I had to give it to him because it wasn't just him trying to take the food. He had guys standing there where if you'd have tried to, take it back, it's gonna get you. So you let him have it. But once they saw you just wanted them, everything was cool, cool as can be.
Did the prison guards protect you, Doc, when, like if there's an incident, they're trying to mess with you or anything like that?
Not really. That's the only thing. The only time I ever came close when a guy took my food. I mean, I thought about saying something and getting up and getting my food, but I just let him have it, and that was the end of it. But I never had any problems really. I just stayed to myself.
Right.
You respect guys and just mind your own business. Stay out of everybody's way.
So, how did Steinbrenner call you and say, "Hey, come pitch for me"? How did that happen?
Steinbrenner was a great man, and I'll always be thankful for the Steinbrenner family, and not only what they did for me, but what they did for my family, and to continue to do for my family down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. There was a situation where obviously in '94, the Mets wanted to cut ties. That's when I had to relapse. So I ended up getting suspended, and then, hello.
No, stay there. You keep talking. I could. You're on a pause. I don't know what happened, but.
Yeah. All right. Okay, but you can still see me?
I can still see you, but you're frozen. But just keep talking, then just go with it.
All right, I got you. So what happened was then the '95 season, I had tested positive, so I was suspended the entire season, mm-hmm. and that's when I ran into Ray Negron. We both lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, and we talked. And I was trying to go play in Japan because I was still in denial about getting healthy. And he said, well, if you take care of yourself, get in shape, start going to AA meetings or NA meetings, start taking care of yourself, and then I'll get you in Japan. Which he had no intentions at the time to get me in Japan, but it worked because I started going to work out every morning. A gentleman, I don't know if you know Ron Dock at all, who lives in Tampa. He became my sponsor. So my day consists of in the morning, Ray come by the house, we go to Eckerd College, we work out, I come home, I shower, me, Ray, Ron Dock, we go to a meeting, then we go eat, then I come home and pick up the kids from school and then have my day. We did that for about 6 months. I started feeling good about myself. And I told Ray, I said, I don't want to go to Japan now to play. I'm gonna wait till my suspension up. He goes, well, good. I want him to send you to Japan anyway. So he just said that. When my suspension was up, I threw for the Marlins. I didn't throw for the Yankees, the White Sox. I threw for the White Sox, and then Ray set up a meeting with Mr. Steinbrenner and Billy Connors. I met with them. We talked. We didn't talk about nothing but baseball. George just wanted to know, what have you been doing with your time off? How are you doing? What are you doing, for your recovery? Told him, and then 2 days later he called. Ray said, George want to meet with you. So me, Ray, my father, we went and met with George, signed with the Yankees, and it was great. And then played with the Yankees 96, 97. After the 97 season, I wanted to go back to the Mets just to try to make it right with the fans. Steve Phillips was the general manager. He said, unfortunately, Doc, we wish you all the best, but we're not going to do it. So 98 and 99, I went to Cleveland. After Cleveland, I called the Mets again. Same thing. Steve Phillips said, no, we wish you the best. We got nothing going. I signed with Houston. A lot of people don't know I played with Houston for one game. I got traded to Tampa, pitched 8 games. My hometown team got released. Sat home for about 4 weeks. Mr. Steinbrenner called me. He said, hey, you still want to play? I said, yes. He said, all right, show up tomorrow at the complex. I was living in Tampa at the time. Show up at the complex, work with Billy Connors. If it don't work out, you come work for me. Work with Billy. This 2000, worked out with Billy, pitched 2 rookie games. And then Billy called me in the office the next day. I thought they was going to release me. He said they need a pitcher in New York. That's when they had the day-night doubleheader. The day game was at Shea Stadium. The night game was at Yankee Stadium. They said we need a guy for the day game at Shea. So I figured I'm not ready. I'm probably going to get killed, but at least I get to go back to Shea Stadium this one last time. Went up to New York, pitched against the Mets at Shea Stadium. I beat them, pitched 5 great innings, stayed on the team the rest of the year, pitched out of the bullpen. Then we beat the Mets in the World Series, got the ring. Then I retired. I worked for the Yankees for 6 years, and I mean, those just grateful the way everything just worked out. And I'm very, very thankful for that and the experience I got from Mr. Steinbrenner, not only on the baseball side and working in the front office, but just being a man.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot.
Doc, when you picked that no-hitter, it was really a sad day before the game because your dad was in the hospital for open heart surgery. And when you started that game against Seattle, you had tears in your eyes between the dugout and the tunnel. You were there by yourself while the team was hitting. Yep. And that was the number one thing. was your dad, man. Your dad was
Yep.
number one, Dan Gooden, and then all of a sudden, magic happened that night. And Doc, I'll tell you one thing. When I read that about you, and New York was so happy after you did it, but I'll show you the highlight. But what New York is, they just accepted you, like they were rooting for you. They were like, yes, he's back. Yes, he had a drug problem. Yes, he drinking, whatever, but he's back and we love him and it's gonna be exciting. But they didn't really know what was going on that day personally with your dad.
That's true.
And I mean, it hurts me because your father, I grew up without a father. He left me when I was 4. I don't know to be a taxi cab driver. I don't know. But the thing is, the relationship that you had with your father meant so much. And how did you stay focused like that, man? I mean, how did you do it? And, that Seattle lineup's no joke, too. They got hitters there. You know what I mean?
Oh, they had hitters, yeah. They did. That's one day where if I didn't, or if I ever doubted it being a higher power, it's definitely a higher power. And that day, I was supposed to go home to be with my father because of what you just said. He was getting ready to have open heart surgery the next day. And because of his health, he had been on dialysis for 15 years. The doctor said he probably wouldn't make it through the surgery. And if he didn't have the surgery, he definitely wouldn't make it another 48 hours. I had my plane ticket to go home. But that morning I woke up, I just thought he would probably want me to pitch. And I just started having flashbacks of all the days we spent at the park, all the things he was teaching me, all the things that we used to watch baseball games, just me and him. All the times on Fridays after he get off work, just me and him go eat. All that stuff was coming back and it was just fresh. And I said, you know what? He would probably want me to pitch. I called Joe Torre, who was the manager at the time, said I was coming in, I'm going to pitch. He said, no, go be with your father. When you're ready to come back, you come back. I said, no, I'll see you tonight. I'm coming in to pitch. Then I had to call my mom, who she took it a little differently. She said, no, you should be here with your dad. You should be here with your family. Your dad is expecting you to come in. Baseball, right now, the secondary, you got plenty of time to play baseball. So I actually ended up hanging up on my mom because I was just feeling guilty that I wasn't coming home. That whole day, I just felt like a dark cloud was over my head before I got to the park. And then when I got to the park, Mel Sodermeyer, who came up to me and said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to be left alone. I'm fine. I'm going to pitch. I'm fine. And I remember, like you said, the first couple of innings of that game, I was standing in the walkway between the clubhouse and the dugout, wondering if I made the right decision or not. Wondering, is he going to be okay? Should I went home? Should I not went home? And then, like you say, sometimes you turn it up not knowing. Steve Donahue, the assistant trainer, was very helpful. He'll come check on me. Okay, I'm fine. Not until the 6th inning is when I realized I had a no-hitter. And what happened was, I'm sitting there and I looked at the scoreboard to see who Seattle had come up to hit. And you see no runs, no hits, no errors. And so then you start getting excited. The anxiety started getting in. Your heart started pumping a little faster. So I was able from that point on to put my dad's situation aside and just focus on pitching. I totally got locked in that game. And I remember the 9th inning, I was gassed. I had nothing left. I probably should have been out of the game in the 7th inning because I had 6 walks that game. And I remember the 9th inning, I walked 2 guys and was up by 2 runs. And Mel Sodermeyer came out to the mound. He goes, how you feeling? I said, Mel, it doesn't matter. I'm not coming out. Because once you get that close, and as you mentioned, everything that's riding on the game, I had to go for it. And I remember the last pitch I threw to Paul Sorrento was a hanging curveball, basically sitting on the tee. 9 out of 10 times he hit that ball out of the ballpark.
I'll tell you,
Eddie, you'd have hit that ball out of the park.
Yeah.
I was sitting right there on the tee.
You know what?
And he popped it up. When the ball went up in the air, it felt like it was never coming down. And when Jeter caught the ball to make the last out, and I'm jumping up, with my hands in the air, the team's carrying off the mound, all I could think of was a year before I was, suspended from baseball. My dad, is he going to be okay?
Yeah.
I remember being benched first class. I started out 0-3, almost got released, almost sent me down to the minors. Mm-hmm. All these things are going through my mind. Is my dad going to make it? Is he not going to make it? Yeah. And I remember after the game calling home, and they say, well, he was rested, but he did see the game. And the next day when I flew home and got to the hospital, he had the surgery and on life support. The doctors told me that he didn't watch the game. Unfortunately, never made it out of the hospital, but it turned out to be the last game he saw me pitch was that no-hitter, and that's what made it that much special. That's why when I say, they say, what was your best moment in baseball from an individual standpoint, it was definitely no-hitter because of everything that was riding on it.
Yeah.
And that was, the last game my dad saw me pitch.
Doc, I'm going to go to that video right now, but I'll tell you, you are so lucky Sorrento opened up too soon because that pitch was there. And let's look at it
was
right
just
now.
sitting right there.
Right here. Here it is.
The worst pitch I threw all night was the last pitch I threw. I mean, right there. It was just sitting right there.
Waiting.
Still get goosebumps just watching it.
A no-hitter for Dwight Gooden.
The wrong day to have a bad haircut. That's for sure.
Oh man! And then
It's a terrible haircut.
you know, Doc,
That's showing the highlights.
the moment right here. This is where New York said, "We
Oh.
still love you, Doc." Right here. Right here is the moment.
Yeah.
We still love you.
Oh, that was crazy right there. That's when like everything that people my teammates were doing, they came off the field. That's just something that's special. That goes beyond baseball. We're talking about life up here.
Oh man.
That was crazy. And then the energy, all the electricity that was brought to the stadium with the fans
Yeah.
was incredible. And then, like, to hear the fans talk about that was amazing how that happened, because a lot of them said they had tickets for the opening day. They got snowed out. And then they had an option of which game to pick. And who would have thought, Gooden against Seattle at that time, especially when I started off 0-3, you're not going to pick that game, but the ones who did pick that game, and then to see that,
And then when you
it's pretty special.
Yeah, and when you did start 0-3, Steinbrenner, you introduced Steinbrenner to your wife, and he's like, "Yeah, how are you? But hey, what's this 0-3 shit? You know what I mean? Let's go, step
man.
on it, right? Like, come on, I need wins."
Man, that's crazy. No, what he said was, I was likely, because when I signed the Yankees, he said, stay out of trouble, pitch the ball when you can pitch, and everything will be fine. And unfortunately, I started out 0-3, and we're walking out of the stadium, and as I'm walking out after my third loss, and I got killed, he's walking towards us, and I'm like, there's George, I'll introduce you. And as he got close, I said, hey, boss, how you doing? I'd like for you to meet my wife. And he was like, when you going to win me an effing game?
Right.
And then he walked away.
He didn't even say hi to your wife. He just said,
But that's the way he was. George was tough, man. But at the end of the day, you knew he was in your corner, no matter what. He was a fan. He wanted to win. He'll do anything he can to win, and he'll put you in the best situation to succeed. But if you screwed up, you never had to worry about somebody saying, George said this or George said that. He was going to find you. He was going to tell you how he felt. But at the end of the day, you knew he was in your corner. I mean, I love George. I miss him all the time.
and you know what, Doc? That's the thing. What people don't know about Steinbrenner is that the guy had a beautiful heart, man.
Oh, big
He
time.
had a beautiful heart, and what's most importantly was he's like, look, yes, I have money, but I want to win. I don't care. I want to win. I am a fan myself.
You're right. And see, the thing people don't understand, what I always say is like, first of all, how could George not be in the Hall of Fame? They shouldn't even have a Hall of Fame without George in it. I mean, you kidding me? Come on, 27 titles. I mean, the things he's done, and even outside of baseball. But the thing about George was like, they say he's buying players, he's bought the guys, he's buying titles. But George was investing back into his team. The other owners could have did the same thing, but they was pocketing their money.
Yeah.
George was investing his money back into the team for the fans. He wanted to win, and that's the thing. But for him not to be in the Hall of Fame, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, that's everybody involved with the Hall of Fame committee. I don't care if I ever get in, they should be ashamed of themselves not having George in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's special, and
That's bad.
everyone has a great. But the thing is, people think, oh, he's this tough guy, this and that. No, he's a tough guy when it comes to winning. You got to be tough to win. What do you do? What do you play for? You play to win. You don't play to just be nice. No. But what
George is great, man. And even when I retired, when I worked for him 6 years in Tampa, going to eat with him and going to play with him, I've seen the stuff he's done for people. I've seen all the people he helped, and he didn't want nobody to know. He didn't want the cameras to know. He said, if you're doing stuff from the heart, you shouldn't have cameras around. It shouldn't be in a newspaper. And George is a genuine guy. I've seen him do so much for so many people. That's just the way it was. Yes, he was tough. He should be tough. You can't be successful if you're not tough.
Yeah.
But on the bottom of it, he had a beautiful heart, like you said. He'd do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
Just a tremendous guy.
And Doc, you know what's crazy is that there was a story in the clubhouse. There was one time, I think there was a Yankees tour, right? And Steinbrenner was there, but people saw him mopping the floor in the clubhouse because he made a mess accidentally. And people are looking like, huh? And then the Steinbrenner looks at them, what? I spilled something, so I'm going to clean up after myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's the type of guy he was.
Yeah.
That's the type. Even like spring training, a lot of times when the guys are getting the field ready to play, you see a piece of paper or somebody from the stands threw a piece of paper, or a hot dog wrapper, or a cup on the field. He would just pick it up himself. I mean, George, just the type of guy, is a regular guy. He just was in charge of the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, he was special.
Yeah.
Doc, this was an amazing interview. I don't even call it.
Oh, my pleasure.
This is more of a conversation. That's how I.
Oh, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
You did a good job, man. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm glad I did it. Thanks for having me, man.
Doc, so check this out.
Continued success, brother. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, I definitely. But here's what I want you to do. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to say, hey, do you know who Eddie Mata is? I want you to answer like this. Who the hell is Eddie Mata? All right? So watch it. I'm going to right now, right? How's this?
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, have you ever heard of this guy named Eddie Mata?
Eddie Mata? Who the hell is Eddie Mata?
You're the best, man. If you love my interviews, please subscribe to my new YouTube channel called The Eddie Mata Show. And if you're on Twitter, go to my profile, click on the link, and you will be on my YouTube channel. There are some classic stories. Trust me. Thanks so much.